So once you've done the characters and the animation, just make sure you click on rig and change to humanoid, then tick apply. You will then see a little tick box there. So you have to do this for all of the animations, but it doesn't take too long. So you just need to make sure you click rig, humanoid, and apply. So this is your main actual character. So this is the one that you drag onto the stage. Click game. I'm going to just, you can move the camera here, okay, or you can just click rotate, and you can resize things. If you've never used Unity, you can resize if you want. Okay, so I'm going to just spin that around a little bit. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to get the character to animate. If I click on game, and press play, nothing will happen at the moment. Okay, so the character's just still in that T pose. So what I'm going to do then is click here, go down to animator controller, so you click create, animator controller. It doesn't matter what you call this, I'm going to just call it my controller. Okay, and then I'm going to click on here, this is the character that's on the stage, and I'm going to drag this thing I've just made, the animator controller, and drag it onto where it says controller here. Okay, so now at the top here you have an actual, okay, and this is almost like a flowchart. So what you can now do is drag an animation up. It will be orange, and that's your first animation. So you've got, once the game loads, it'll go straight to this animation. So if I click on game and press play, the character should start doing an animation. Okay, I'm just going to untick that. That didn't work because, I'll just try that again. I didn't actually properly drag that on, so just make sure, okay, now it will work. So you just have to make sure that you do drag it right on top. Okay, brilliant. So that is the idle pose, the idle animation. Now if you go to animator, I'll just do jump. Okay, so I'm going to drag jump. It's not connected at the moment, but if you right click, do make transition, go on to that, so connect the two up. I'll also just do right click, make transition, and I'll drag it down, so after it does jump, it will go back to idle. Okay, so when you press play, it's in the idle mode and you can see the blue line going, so after that's done, your character should then jump. Okay, and then goes back to animators. So then you can just do all your other animations and you can connect them up. So you could do right click, make transition, right click, and do down. So you can do a series of different animations. I'm just going to delete that one. So that's the first part. What we are now going to try to do is interact with this animation. So when we press the space bar, okay, the character will jump. So not automatically. So what we're going to do first is where it says parameters, click on the plus and do trigger. And I'm going to put is and then jump in. Okay. Now on this one here, this is the arrow that's going from idle to jump in. At the moment there's no conditions. It says list is empty. Click on plus and you see you get that one there. Okay, so that means something has to happen now for it to jump. The character won't automatically jump. So if I click on animator, so it will play the idle animation, and okay, keeps playing. So it will not jump, it just stays on idle. Okay, so that's what you want. Now the next thing, I'm also going to do it here. I'm going to put the condition there as well. So right, now the next thing we need to do is click Create C# script. Okay, and I'm going to just call it my code. It doesn't matter at the moment what you call it. I'm just going to say my code. So I'm going to double click. Okay, now this is the code that you'll see. Starts, this only goes once. Okay, when the animation loads, this happens once. Update happens over and over again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just type this in. So you'd need to type this in as well. So I'm going to put static. Don't worry about what static means at the moment. Anim, this is just going to be a, oh, sorry, no, sorry, capital A, animator, there you go, and you can click there. And this is, and then just call it, say, anim. And put the colon after, okay? Now what I'm going to do is say anim equals get, okay, get component. And I'm going to do that one, and then animator again. And it's easier if you choose it. Click from the drop down. It does save a bit of time. Okay, curly brackets, and then done. Okay, this is important that you get this exactly as we've got it here, because it is an actual coding language. Now what we're going to do is if inputs. So if what the user types, if input dot get button down is jump, okay, and then you got this one, do shift near the letter P, you have this one, the squiggly bracket, do another one that's the closing bracket, okay, and you're going to do, right, this bit, okay, you're going to set. So you're going to do anim dot set trigger. Okay, and I'm going to leave this empty at the moment. Okay, like that. Right. What is the trigger? The trigger is this. This is the trigger, is jumping. If this is true, okay, if this is true, then it will jump. Okay, so in here you put is jumping. So I have got capital J here and here, so it's important that you get that exactly as it's shown here. Now I'm going to click on that square to try and compile it. I'll just click it again. Okay, one error, expected symbol. Now this is good actually that this happened, because I need to put another bracket there. Okay, look, open bracket, so I need closing bracket, closing bracket. Okay, I'm going to click again, just make sure it does compile. Now that looks okay. What should happen, okay, if there was no errors. Now I'm going to try this, and I don't think it will. Okay, I'm just going to see what happens now. I don't think it will work. So I'm going to, so it's going to do the animation. If I press the space bar, okay, so I'm keep pressing it. Okay, it doesn't animate. So what I need to do, the final thing I need to do is click on the character. That code there, I need to drag it onto here. So now it's connected to that character. That bit of code that we've just done, that C# code. So now when I do this, if I press the space bar, and I'm going to go here. Okay, I've pressed the space bar. It's jumped. Okay, so it has worked. Now what you may have noticed is it didn't jump straight away. So I'm going to click on here, and it says has exit time. That means that the idle animation plays until it has finished. So if I now untick this, click there, untick this. Now when I click on game, click play, I should, as soon as I press the spacebar, okay, it jumps. And that is how you start to interact with the character. If I do file, sorry, edit, project settings and input, why was this, what does that mean? Where do we get jump from? Well, if you go to Unity, Okay, so you do, sorry, edit, project settings and input. And you see here, jump. That's where we get it from, jump. It actually says joystick button 3, which I think is just linked to the spacebar. So that is why. Now you could probably even change that to, I'll just test it. If I call that jumping, I don't know if this is good, I've never tried this, but if I try that again, but now I change this to jumping. Okay, and then just click and click again. Okay, it's compiled it. I'm just going to see whether this works. Because it, okay, no, actually it didn't work. So maybe it's because I haven't compiled that. I think what's happened is I haven't saved it. Right, saved. Okay. Let me just have a look. See, it does work. So I've changed that to jumping. If I press the spacebar, it did actually work. But it's probably worthwhile not actually doing that, just keeping that. I've changed that back to jump. And I'll just untick that. Because at this stage, you don't really need to change that. But it's just making the point that this name here, jump, is linked to that, okay, and is jumping is linked to this trigger here. So now you've done one trigger, you can actually then just try different triggers, so different keys on your keyboard. That's what I wanted to show you here. So what you can do, you know, you've got cancel, you've got submit. See, if you do, so submit and return, what you would do is, if you put submit on there, then that should, in theory, work if you pressed the return key on your keyboard. So I'll just quickly try this. But it's just sort of making that connection between the code and what's actually happening. There you go, it does work. So now I'm pressing the enter or the return key on the keyboard. Okay, and he's jumping. So that just, it's just that link there between the code. This stuff here, anim.gets component, basically it's just like a little variable. Animator, you think of that as an object, so that could be human, and you're creating, so anim, then the Unity knows that if this was called human, Unity knows that you're going to have 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, 2 eyes, and a mouth, and that kind of thing. It's just, but this is something that the more you do it, the more you understand what exactly happening. Don't worry again about static and void at the moment, but just understand what is in here happens over and over again. So in another video, I'll just quickly show you in the second video how you then add more bits of code here, okay, just to add more interaction to your animation. But that is the start of actually making a proper game. Okay, so that's it. Have fun.